Let's get into today's episode of Why We Succeed.
You had mentioned earlier about how important it is for you to provide the best experience for your customers. And I'm curious, when you look at your clients and the people that you work with, what is your ultimate goal when it comes to providing them that best service? Like at the end of the day, what do you want your clients to say about you? How do you want them to feel when they see what you've provided them with?
I just want them to feel great and come back. Yeah. So you've basically won them over as a loyal customer, and they're not even looking for other solutions that are out there and compare you to other people because you even exceeded their expectations. You've over delivered, and it just makes sense for them to stay with you. And you can prove it. So measuring results is really, really important when it comes to marketing. It's easy to get distracted by the pretty looking things and by the creative, but actually prove to them how it's an investment into their business and how it makes, how what you do makes them more money. So you can track and measure it, and you have it there black on white in a spreadsheet. Hey, you've got X amount more sales because of this Instagram post or because of this, whatever it is that you've done. So yeah, that's really important. Measure and track it and create reports so you can always prove how valuable you are.
That's good. That's good. Now, one of the things that we like to touch on here is the importance and the value of relationships. I know you mentioned earlier about the role that your mentor played. I'm curious, within the digital marketing space or just your own personal community, have you found other people, other groups that are doing similar things that you've been able to connect with and grow and develop together?
Yeah, obviously I've been networking a lot. I've joined a couple of business networking groups myself. And since I create a lot of content and I do a lot of PR, I'm a guest on other people's podcasts on a regular basis. So I know a bunch of people. I signed up to the email list of a bunch of people. So I always stay updated and in the know of what's going on and what others are doing, and just, staying in touch and being active in the whole community. And that as well helps build your credibility so people can see you and you can just showcase your expertise in a public way. Right.
Now, when it comes to more so your personal life, you come from an upbringing where there were entrepreneurs, there were business owners. Was this something that you saw growing up, or was it something that you developed within yourself independently?
Yes, I developed it within myself independently. Yeah.
So what was the catalyst behind that?
Freedom of choice, more time, and just really, being able to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, with whom you want to do it. So basically having the full control over your life. Right. Yeah. And being able to do that.
Yeah. And you bring up freedom, and I'm curious, why is freedom something that's so important to you?
I think it's a key ingredient to happiness. If you have the luxury to do what you feel like doing at any given moment, you know. So when I want to travel, I can still do it and I can work from there. All I need is my laptop and an internet connection and I'll be good. Things like that. I think it's a key ingredient to happiness. And yes, it'll change your life once you make it happen for you.
Right. And with that in mind, was there ever a time either before you're operating as a business owner or since you have been where you felt like you didn't have the freedom that you wanted and that you deserved?
Oh, yes. I felt kind of like a slave. I know it's a bad word, but I think you get what I'm saying.
It's not. It's a real word.
Right.
Yeah, that's real. Call it like it is.
Yes. Right.
No, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. No, I want to hear more.
Right. I wanted to escape that and basically have the maximum amount of freedom that I can possibly have.
So what did that look like when you didn't have that freedom?
Basically, I had to get up at a certain time. I had to be in the office at a certain time. I wasn't flex time, so it was not like a fixed time on the dot, but it was like a time span. There's a certain time span when you have to take your lunch break. There's a certain time span when you can't work anymore, when you actually have to go home because the building basically closes.
Right.
What else? Vacation time. You can't go on vacation when you want to. You also, people tell you how many days of vacation you can take. So that is not controlled by you as well. And basically, when you don't work, you can't earn any money. You can only earn money when you work. So that's trading time for money again, essentially. There's nothing passive that you can do and put up and monetize for you. And yeah, you just have to do what another person requires of you all the time. Yeah. And that's basically how it looks like.
Right. And when you think back of those experiences that you had working for other people, were there any lessons that you took away from those experiences in addition to understanding, hey, I want my freedom. This doesn't really provide me with that freedom. Was there anything else that you kind of took away and has helped you in your business today?
Definitely organization and being structured and very organized. So that's one thing that I definitely took away, to have SOPs, standard operating procedures, and to just operate with a plan. And you have to find processes and you have to find systems in place and all of that. And there's milestones that you can ensure the quality of something with and all of that. So you have some consistency there that gives you some stability as well.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier about dealing with self-doubt, that being one of those limiting beliefs or challenges that you face. What did you do to overcome it? Or what are you currently doing to overcome it?
I've overcome it by seeing the positive results, basically. So I saw for myself, hey, there's no reason to doubt myself anymore because I did that for people.
Right.
Like, I did that. So, yeah.
That's good. That's good. And I'm curious. It's one thing we know to face the challenges that come up before we've launched our businesses or achieve a level of success. Are there any challenges or any things that you didn't necessarily expect once you were operating your business and experiencing that success that you were like, oh man, like I never knew that I had to deal with this. And it was something that you had to learn how to overcome as well?
Yeah. Time management, for example, is a big one. You have to be very organized, especially if you're doing two things at the same time. Yeah, you have to, and also be prepared to just put the time in. Like you have to put the time in almost every day, 7 days a week, basically. And put double the work in, and you still have to make sure that you're really, really efficient. Otherwise you just can't get it done. So you have to make plans and work with checklists and work with reminders to never miss a deadline and things like that. That's very important. And then you'll pretty quickly in your journey, you won't be able to fulfill anything by yourself as a one man or one woman band anymore. And you'll need to get some help, whether that's a virtual assistant or a freelancer or a contractor or an agency, whoever it may be, if it's not, a real employee of your business. And then you have to orchestrate that as well and stay on top of who's doing what today and when and how, and communicate with them and stay on top of that. And stay on top of paying them on time and merging everything together. And then also the client communication. So there's a lot to it, and you have to be a very structured person. You have to know how to deal with stress. So that's another challenge to overcome. What else? Bootstrapping everything. Right.
Speak more on that.
Yes. Being able to get the most bang for your buck, whatever it is that you're doing, leveraging organic strategies and organic tactics as much as you can, collaborating with people. You're not alone, and people will benefit from partnering up with you, and you can lend them your expertise and they can lend you their expertise. Find people that do stuff that is kind of related to what you do, but you're not direct competitors, and just partner up with them and be visible. Yeah. Don't hide your face behind your logo, behind your company name. Be visible. People like to know who is behind something, who's behind a brand or behind a business, and who they're doing business with on a personal and a human level. So that's another tip. So if you're camera shy, you'll have to overcome that. You'll just have to. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I can think of from the top of my head.
Oh man, those are gems. Like, I mean, you were just dropping them and I was loving it because all of those things are challenges and things that I know I've had to deal with as well. And it can be depending on the person, right? And depending on some of the limiting beliefs that we have, it can be challenging to overcome some of those. And when we do, it can open things up. It's like, oh man, like I didn't even know that that was possible until you just try it. And I think that's another thing that I've learned is sometimes you just have to step out of your comfort zone. And when you step out of your comfort zone, it expands the ability for you to receive opportunities that you never would have if you just stayed in that little comfortable box and never moved. And that's one of the things that I realize. And I try to challenge myself often, but this is the one thing that I've learned too. As important as it is to expand and do different things, you also have to know when you're operating outside of your lane. And I'll admit, I've done this. There have been certain offers or services that I began to offer, and I would be like, oh man, yeah, I'm out of my depth here. It just would be so much stress or so much work or different elements or things that I didn't even know would go into it. And I just was glad that I at least tried it, right? Because I could have just been like, oh man, well, I wanted to do that or offer that service, but I never gave it a try. And I think that's what we have to do. Sometimes you may learn that it's not a lane that you want to operate in or not best suited for your time, right? The time that you have to invest or even your skill set. But then I can also speak to the other side where it's like, okay, well, let me add this service offering and see what it does. And then you'll notice like, oh, like it's not hugely impactful on my time. It's something that I have the skills to deliver a high quality product or service to the client, and people are pleased with that service. And then that's when you're like, okay, I got a winner here and I can continue to offer this service. And that's one way of expanding your business, expanding your offering, but at the same time, doing it in a way where you don't get overwhelmed or you're not operating outside of your own lane.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great tip as well. And I would also add patience to it, or the lack of patience. Nothing happens overnight.
Right.
Don't expect amazing, great results to happen overnight. Things take many, many weeks and months, and have realistic expectations, whatever it is that you're starting or getting yourself into, so you don't give up too early or become discouraged because of it.
And in full transparency, I'll be honest with you, I've been thinking of getting into like digital marketing to a certain extent. And I want to ask you a question, just one-on-one personal for me. And maybe I am sure some other people will be able to find value in this as well. What would you say is a good place to start for somebody that's new, that's fresh to the digital marketing space? I know you mentioned earlier, there's so many different areas that you can get into. What do you think are some of those places where a person can kind of get their feet wet, get an understanding, and not necessarily have to have the hugest skill set to?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can name a couple examples, people who are crushing it in the space.
Let me get on the edge of my seat.
Yeah. If you want to get into podcasting, Pat Flynn is doing really well, so you can check him out. If you want to get into content marketing, definitely check out Ann Handley. She's like the queen of content marketing, and you can learn a lot from her. She has great resources. Follow her on social, and she has a newsletter that's actually worth subscribing to. It's not spammy or, whatever at all, but it's really, really valuable emails. And I actually look forward to opening her emails whenever she sends out a new newsletter. In the SEO space, check out Neil Patel, check out Craig Campbell, check out Brian Dean. Let's see. In the marketing automation space, check out Chris L. Davis. He's doing really well, crushing it. And he has an academy as well where he teaches people. He does workshops and courses and all of that, and has an amazing podcast where he teaches it as well. Yeah, so those are the people that come to mind. Let me think. Writing, also check out Ann Handley. That's content. So, yeah.
Quick question. What is marketing automation? What does that entail?
Marketing automation is basically having software execute your marketing strategy for you automatically and having things automated. Like a super simple example of it would be having an autoresponder set up when somebody submits the contact form on your website. They get an email, hey, thank you so much for your message. We'll get back to you within, 24 hours. The next steps are XYZ, blah, 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 blah. So that's an automated email that gets sent out. And then maybe as a second automated task that the software performs for you is they'll put a reminder on your calendar or on your, project management system that you got a new task right now, or one of your team members, if you're not handling it yourself, has a new task right now and something to do and something to respond to or look into or research and answer for or whatever. So yeah, that's a simple example of it. And it can get really, really complex. Some people really manage to run their business on autopilot and have software execute all of the tasks for them, even when it comes to, delivering the deliverables, and everything gets generated and created automatically. So it's really cool. It's definitely worth looking into, even when you're just starting out, because little tedious 2-minute, 3-minute, 5-minute tasks can still add up really, really quickly.
Right.
You wouldn't even believe it, and take time out of your day. And especially when it comes to repetitive stuff where you're just copying and pasting information in, it's simple to set up. Basic versions of those automation softwares are also really affordable and not expensive or super fancy to understand it all. So it's something to look into for sure.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Why We Succeed. If you value relationships and believe they are the true key to success, be sure to subscribe. To watch this full discussion and gain access to exclusive content, join our Patreon today. The link is in the description. Thank you, and we'll catch you on the next episode.